Hey folks, I'm Red Monster SC, and in this video I'm going to review the scanning changes that you can expect in Alpha 3.18 and guide you through the updated surveying process, whether you're looking for gemstones, mineable ores, or salvageable wrecks, and cover the current hotspots for the ever-profitable Quantainium mining. Most major patches include some type of change to scanning, and 3.18 is no exception. While scanning mechanics have changed slightly, we also have salvage panels and derelict spaceships to contend with. Fortunately, there's a quick and easy way to determine what a scanned signal will be as soon as it shows up on your radar. Each signal cloud now displays the radar signature or RS value of the signal source, and that value is unique depending on what type of signal you're looking at. For ore deposits or asteroids, you'll see an RS value of 1700 or some multiple of it. These signals will appear at up to 14 kilometers away and spawn on both planet surfaces and in deep space. If the signal cloud has an RS value of 1700, you'll know it's a single deposit, and if it's some larger multiple of 1700, then you've likely got a cluster. Note that it is possible for multiple single deposits to appear close enough together to look like a group, but this happens infrequently, and you'll be able to tell as soon as you arrive at the location. For salvage debris panels, you'll see an RS value of 2000 or its multiples. These panels will only ever appear in space, as salvageable materials will not spawn on planet surfaces, and it's rare that you'll only find a single panel, as they normally spawn in clusters. There are a few distinct shapes for salvageable panels, and the amount of material you can harvest from each panel will vary, but the RS value for each panel will still remain the same. For derelict spaceships, you'll see a mix of RS, IR, and CS values that will be unique per ship, with IR displaying the infrared, and CS displaying the cross-section signals. It should be immediately clear that a signal is a spaceship based on the presence of the IR and the CS values, as those are not present on ores or salvageable panels. Derelict spaceships will also only ever spawn on their own, so you won't have to contend with multiple signals. The C2 and 890 jump derelict spaceships are so large that their signals are automatically identified as salvage, and they can be detected from 20 kilometers away or further. Simply aim your ship at the bear claw icon, and a detailed scan will confirm the type of ship. And yes, they significantly reduce the number of derelict ship spawns when 3.18 hit the live servers. If you're specifically looking for ships to salvage, it's probably easiest to pair up with a bounty hunting crew and clean up the wreckage they leave behind. And for gemstones, the rock mineable gemstone deposits have an RS value of 620 per node, and the signal cloud will only appear at about 4 kilometers from the source. These deposits each have a mass of 0.85, which requires a gray cat rock to harvest, and each node will yield around 3 CSCU of material. Hand mineable gemstones have an RS of 120 per node, and will only appear on active pings when you get within 500 meters. They have a smaller mass of 0.1 and can be broken with a multi-tool and an orbit mining attachment. Now that we know what signals to look for, let's get into the actual process of scanning. First, enter scanning mode by pressing V in the pilot seat. Send out an active ping using the tab key, and increase or decrease your ping angle using the mouse scroll wheel. Unfortunately, there's a bug in the 3.18 live release preventing users from updating the keybind to increase or decrease ping angle, so you're unable to set a custom key for these actions. If you have a keybind mapping from a previous game version, it could still be used, but I have not been able to modify my own ping angle keybind since 3.18 Live was released. For now, you'll either need to dredge up an old keybind file, or get used to the mouse scroll wheel. Once you've got a signal cloud, you can aim your ship at it and see the initial details. If there are multiple signal clouds that are closely aligned, you'll need to narrow down your ping angle to focus on one of the signal sources before the RS value will show up. The initial details you'll see are the RS value for all signals and the IR and CS values for derelict ships. From this data, you can quickly tell if there are multiple rocks in a group or what type of salvageable ship is there. Be aware that if there are two individual rocks that spawn close enough together, they could read as a single group despite them being of different types. To get detailed scan data, you need to get within about 200 meters of the deposit and, with scanning mode active, hold the left click to run an active scan, which will give you the details like ship type, deposit type, mass, and composition. In previous patches, you could get the detailed data at up to 1 kilometers away, and sometimes further if you got lucky, but my experience in 3.18 so far is that you need to be right up next to the deposit before your detailed scan data can be gathered. When performing the active scan, the progress bar on the right side of the interface should increment throughout the process, taking several steps from empty to full. If you notice the progress bar instantly going from empty to full without any steps in between, then there was an issue with the scan and you either need to get closer to the rock or wait a few seconds for the backend servers to load in the data. If the bar continues to instantly fill, you'll need to try some of the troubleshooting steps that I've got coming up later. Once your detailed scan is complete, you should have the full picture of the deposit or ship and can decide whether you want to spend your time harvesting it. Like and subscribe now if you're enjoying this video and want to see more great Star Citizen content like this in the future. Now, as much as I would love for unscannable rocks to be a thing of the past with persistent entity streaming coming online, sadly, they are still around in 3.18. There are plenty of reasons why we get unscannable rocks, but the majority of them are caused by back-end server performance issues the players can't really do much to resolve. If you're getting repeated scanning problems, there are a few troubleshooting steps you could try before giving up on a rock and moving on. So here are my tips and tricks for troubleshooting scanning issues. If you found something else that works, leave a comment below and I'll try to highlight the workarounds that have the most consistent success. The first and easiest solution is to turn it off and back on again. Simply closing the scanning mode and opening it again provides the necessary reset for your scanning suite to overcome unusual scanning issues. This is especially useful if you've been in scanning mode for an extended period of time. Second, some players even suggest firing your weapons at the rock if it doesn't scan. I'm in favor of trying new methods, but my opinion is that you're still toggling off scanning mode in order to do this, which is the likely reason things start working. That being said, the only thing this is going to cost you is a bit of time, so it's worth a shot. Third, sending repeated active pings towards the target rock may trigger an update on the scan data. I'd guess that each active ping triggers a request from the game services to see what's out there, and that could be enough to kickstart a missing thread that will pull your detailed data in. Fourth, if you're in the mole, move between the pilot seat and a laser turret. I've found that sometimes I'm unable to scan from the pilot seat, but the details appear while I'm in the turret in mining mode. The fifth solution is to wait it out. Backend server performance has been a major concern for the 3.18 live release, and I've noticed deposits taking several minutes to return detailed composition data, as well as some rocks taking several minutes to fracture once charged. If you have the time, you could sit around and wait for the few minutes to see if the data comes in. However, I suggest finding another deposit to go investigate in the meantime, and try to make your way back around if you can. And the sixth and final solution is to log out and rejoin the game using a different region. As I mentioned earlier, unscannable rocks are a symptom of poor server performance, so if you rejoin on the same server shard, you'll just find more of the same. Swapping to a different region will ensure you've got an entirely different server shard. The downside of swapping servers is that the rocks won't be the same on that new server, but with any luck, you'll start getting more consistent scans. With the scanning mechanics out of the way, let's talk about the two main mining hotspots and how they have changed with 3.18. If you're mining for Quantainium, you should be very familiar with Lyria, one of the moons around our corp. There's one unique feature that makes it a Quantainium miner's dream spot. Because of Lyria's unique spawning rules, Quantainium is the only rock type that spawns in multiple rock clusters. There are other types of rocks that will spawn on the surface, but they will only ever spawn as individual rocks. That means that if you're scooting around with your active ping going, any signal with an RS signature of multiples of 1700 is guaranteed to be a Quantainium type deposit, with the rare exception being when two solo deposits randomly spawn very close together. Because these are surface deposits, they can range from 2400 to 8800 mass, so you'll want to mine with a couple of prospectors, a multi-crew mole, or plan on trying the double surge method if you're mining solo. I've got a separate video on how that works, which can be found in the description below. The downside of Lyria is that it's a fairly well-known mining hotspot with a finite surface area and a well-known refinery route, which draws the attention of pirates. So don't make yourself an easy target. Avoid mining within 50 kilometers of a quantum travel destination, and don't take a direct route back to the refinery. Instead, travel to another destination that's slightly off axis and redirect partway through your trip so that you can avoid pirate snares. The Air and Halo is another great location for mining, with the benefit that you're practically guaranteed never to see another player outside of your current party. The big downside for the belt, at least based on current performance, is that unscannable rocks will be much more prevalent. I found myself working through the troubleshooting steps on multiple rocks and having to constantly monitor the server FPS and BWin. These issues appear to be much more prevalent when asteroid mining compared to surface mining, and that makes it a difficult trade-off. Because of the changes to scanning, you also cannot determine the asteroid type from a distance like you could in 3.17, which makes it a bit more challenging to filter out good rocks from the garbage. Now, there are 2 tips to keep in mind when searching for Q-type asteroids. First is that Q-type asteroid clusters will be in a tight grouping, where all other asteroid types will be spread further apart. You can use a narrow ping angle to resolve the individual asteroids from a distance to gauge the proximity within the cluster, and if it's clear that the asteroids are fairly dispersed, then it's less likely to be a Q-type cluster. And second is that Q-type asteroids will never spawn in groups of 3, so you can ignore any signal with an RS value of 5100 if it's only the Q-type asteroids you're after. This unusual pattern is based on the current asteroid clustering rules, and Q-type asteroid clusters have a unique spawn pattern compared to the E, M, and P-type asteroids that you're going to be filtering through. You can also do surface mining on microTech, as it has a high chance of finding Quantainium deposits. The same goes for the moons around microTech. However, I found the weather on these moons to be an unwelcome complication. And there you have it, a rundown of the scanning changes you can expect in Alpha 3.18 and how you can make the most out of your surveying process. You can connect with me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Discord, and Patreon using the links in the description. Thank you to my patrons for your ongoing support, funding channel giveaways, and other perks for the Red Legion community. And finally, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, because we've got a lot of mining changes arriving on 3.19, and I'll be here to help you make sense of them all.